Hi, I'm Mike, and welcome to the second edition of the show that doesn't have a name.
This time I'm calling it Comics.Comics.Comics with periods in between.
Okay, is it next week? There's going to be exclamation points.
Maybe. Or something totally new. That's really the ultimate branding, is when you have a show, but it changes names every episode.
And really, to just screw with people, we should make a playlist on our YouTube page that's every video in itself in its own playlist to just confuse how to watch in order.
Yeah, so my name is Vincent, and what do we do on this show?
Well, you're gonna give a haul video, but not as big as last week's. Then we're gonna talk about some comic news, and then we got I can't count. We got like 5 books to talk about this week.
Yep. So haul here. Got some nice crinkly.
Yeah, what'd you pick up this week?
Some nice crinkly brown paper. So I picked up, we're not talking about it on this show, but I picked up Love Romances because I pick up one-shots in physical form for some reason. And I picked up True Believers, Captain Marvel versus Ronin, which I believe is a reprint of Captain Marvel number 41. And I basically, every once in a while, I'll pick up a True Believers of a book that I don't own in reprints, or I might not necessarily want in reprints. And it's just $1, and I'll read it and then recycle it or whatever. But this is from way past the Jim Starlin run on the book, but before the death. And I'm not really familiar with any of that material at all. So I'll check that out. And then, for some reason, I bought, I believe this came out this week, or maybe it was last week, Black Lightning Brick City Blues,
I did see that came out this week.
Which is the 90s, I think it's like a 1995 series.
I hate his costume on that cover, by the way.
It's not as good as the original, but I don't. And the collar's kind of weird, but I don't have a big problem with it.
I have a problem with the red. I don't like the red.
This is Tony Isabella returning to the character and doing a run of about the same length, like 20 years after he created the character. So this is a 13 issues plus a short story from a holiday special. And the artist here is Eddie Newell. And I've read a little bit of this run, and it's very different from the original, but basically Black Lightning has 2 amazing runs 20 years apart by the same guy who created the character. And then I got Superman, the Man of Steel, Volume 7 and Volume 8. And this is the John Byrne run. And I have, I think, 1 through 4 or 5. And some of the ones I have are out of print. And then I was like, oh, I'll just get to the other ones later. And then recently I looked them up and I'm like, oh, now those are out of print. And I think these ones are slightly out of print. And so they were at the store, and they're not super expensive cover price, so I just went for them. So I'm at this point, I think I only need like 9 and 6 or something.
That's not terrible.
And 9 came out. 9 should still be very available, and so I just have to double check how impossible it'll be to get 6, and I'll probably luck upon it. I think there are a few issues with the reading order in these trades, but I'll just deal with it, and then when they eventually hopefully put out some kind of different edition, I'll probably upgrade, but whatever. And also, actually, interestingly, so this is 7 and 8. 8 is slightly bigger than 7.
Yeah, they do that thing where they as it goes on, it keeps getting the volume getting thicker, like the Green Arrows.
Mm-hmm. But 7, cover price of $19.99. 8, the larger one, cover price of $16.99, which is weird as well. But then also, this is just a comment, in the store, I also saw the Batman by Neil Adams, the new paperback conversions.
Yeah.
And those are actually pretty thin. And I'm not sure if it's based on like the quality of the paper and stuff like that. Even though it probably is that because this is like close to a newsprint kind of paper stock. But
I think when I flipped through the new Neil Adams Batman ones, it's kind of the same paper, which is pretty disappointing.
But those Neil Adams books are like $25.
Yeah,
And
because
so
Neil
again,
Adams name is on it.
yeah, again, I don't know if that's creator tax or if it's like a paper related thing. And then separately from that, that was all from my local comic shop. And then I put in a caved and put in a order with our sponsors, not really, in stock trades. I got 3 omnibuses. First, we have a cheater volume. We have Nexus Omnibus Volume 6. It's one of the Dark Horse paperback omnibuses.
One of the pulp size omnibuses, which I love.
Yeah, and this one, this is I don't think it was damaged, but they had some kind of Dark Horse sale going on. So this book was $4.25, and eventually actually I think this might be the last one I want. The last numbered one I want, but I still need to fill in and get a few more of them. And then I got the Captain Marvel, Miss Marvel, A Hero is Born omnibus.
You bought it. I thought you were gonna go with the epics.
Yeah, but then when I like fully looked at the page counts and stuff like that, it kind of annoyed me. Honestly, it was kind of an impulse buy.
You'll have to let me know how it is because I do want to get around to reading all that at some point because Claremont and I do like Carol Danvers, but I haven't been like fully committed to pulling the trigger yet.
Yeah, that's the thing is, for me, I'm not as interested probably as you are. I don't really like Carol Danvers particularly.
I hate that cover on the book. I would much rather have the
Well, yeah.
variant.
I mean, well, I'll know I love Amanda Connor, but
yeah, I like Amanda Connor's art, but that's not the costume
right.
she wears in the book.
Yeah, exactly. But honestly, I kind of and like part of my argument is that it's kind of X-Men related, but it kind of isn't. Like
it isn't. It isn't.
She hangs out with the X-Men as binary, but that's way after this and different and everything like that. But also in this run is the first appearance of Mystique and shit like that. So it's whatever. It was more just like an impulse buy where it's like, do I really want to pass up like a big chunk of like 70s, 80s Marvel? Just because I'm like that.
I am happy it got made because of the movie. So
yeah. And then the other impulse buy, well, not the impulse buy. Yeah, this is why. So it's the Wonder Woman by Phil Jimenez omnibus.
Oh, you caved for that too.
Yeah. Well, this one I was genuinely excited about.
I do want to try to get that at some point as well.
I've wanted this before they announced it and everything like that because previously there were 2 trades and one of them in particular was very out of print. They were on the shitty paper stock like some old early 2000s DC trades, and they didn't cover all the run. So I'm very happy about this. It includes the Return of Donna Troy miniseries, which I have double dipped somewhere else, and so that's a slight annoyance. But whatever, I'm happy about this. It's a great companion to the George Perez books because Jimenez is basically a George Perez fanboy and heavily inspired by his style and calls back to a lot of those Wonder Woman elements, even though it's years later. And basically the reason why I bought part of the reason I bought the Miss Marvel one, the impulse purchase of that, is that this book has a cover price of $75.
Yeah.
And so half off first week of release, I didn't have the free shipping. And this Captain Marvel book,
that will put you over.
This Captain Marvel book has a cover price of $100. And you can see which one is larger. So thanks, Marvel.
Well, not only that, the DC omnibuses, I think, put greater presentation into the look of their books. Now, I don't hate on Marvel's presentation. I like the uniformity between all of them, but I do like how DC has gone kind of like each omnibus has their own feel to it. Like the Justice League omnibuses have their own feel. All the Golden Age and Silver Age books have their feel. And then some of the Batman ones too. But you mentioned John Byrne's Superman. Hey, DC, please give us an omnibus, please, of that. It'd be great.
Yeah. Now, let me pop this open real quick because speaking of design and everything, here's the
Great.
board. Pretty cool.
And then all we need is a Greg Rucka omnibus for Wonder Woman too.
I mean, they should probably put it out, but they also
put out the 3 paperbacks.
Yeah, about to be finished that. So that's the haul. Then we have some quick news.
Very fast news this week. Not a huge news week.
I would say, I guess, kind of, sort of, the major new series that was announced in the meantime is a Black Cat ongoing, written by Jed MacKay and drawn by Travel Foreman. Obviously, Travel Foreman, great artist.
Yeah.
Jed MacKay doesn't have a ton under his belt. I don't give a shit about Black Cat. Black Cat, so whenever Elektra comes up, you as a Daredevil fan, you often say that you don't really care about Elektra post Frank Miller.
Because she should have been dead.
Or Elektra outside of Daredevil series. That's kind of how I feel about Black Cat, where like Black Cat outside of Spider-Man books, like as a solo thing, I have no interest.
She doesn't have the Catwoman thing where she kind of she can base herself and do her own thing. I feel like Black Cat's kind of too intrinsically tied to Spider-Man.
Yeah.
But like Elektra, I feel like she can do her own thing as well. But I just don't like Elektra post Miller because Miller said she was supposed to die and not come back. And really, what are the seminal moments that she's done since she's come back? Not really a lot.
But this series will spin loosely out of Nick Spencer's run,
which that was a good arc that he had with Black Cat.
And we'll see how that turns out. I don't expect
why Spencer isn't like his name's not attached to it because he said Felicia is his favorite of the Spider-Man love interest.
Yeah. Then I think somewhat big news, but ultimately like numbers wise, probably not. Usagi Yojimbo is leaving Dark Horse after practically 25 years.
Yeah.
And is moving to IDW, which is
Dark Horse is struggling at this point, right?
Yeah, well, it's hard to tell because I mean, this one in particular, it's not like they're losing a license. This is a independent creator just leaving.
But this comes off the heels of losing Star Wars, Buffy. So they have what? BPRD and Hellboy with the Magnolaverse, and now Aliens and Predator.
And they have Black Hammer. That's Jeff Lemire's little universe. Okay. And I think the Gerard Way is that what TV show just went on Netflix?
Umbrella Academy.
I think that's Dark Horse.
Okay, I can never remember if Lemire stuff is because I know he has stuff under Image. He has stuff everywhere.
Yeah, well, a lot of his stuff is Image, but Black Hammer is at Dark Horse, and he's basically following the Mignolaverse model, where he's really building it up as a universe.
Dr. Star Dark Horse as well, then?
What?
Is Dr. Star?
That's part of the Black Hammer universe.
Okay.
And he has like one of the series is like a Legion pastiche and stuff like that. But this is a big deal because it was at Dark Horse so long, and it's one of those super long running creator-driven auteur comics, similar to like Cerebus or something like that. But the honest thing is, right now in 2019, the comparisons that still stand are like Spawn and Savage Dragon, which is kind of funny. But it's also interesting that it's moving to IDW specifically because that's where the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are.
The Turtles are over there, and they've had some crossovers before.
Yeah. And then speaking of other stuff that left Dark Horse, somewhat major news, or at least it's being reported as major news. Buffy #3, which left Dark Horse and is now at Boom. Buffy #3 is outselling Buffy #2, which is very rare.
I haven't read Buffy. I haven't read the new Buffy series yet, but I think from what I did read reviews on it, it seems that Buffy fans are kind of like they're pretty positive on it. And I mean, we'll see what happens with this new series because I know Joss Whedon's at HBO right now trying to develop a new Buffy show. So we'll see how long this incarnation lasts before that.
Yeah.
But
and then the last piece of news, I wanted to comment a little bit on Comics Pro, which is basically it's an industry kind of conference. I think it's held. I'm not actually sure. I think it's like Carolina, but there were comments about snow delaying people or having people not show up. But I guess that's from their point of origin, not destination. And to my knowledge, the concept is for publishers and retailers to hang out and talk about what's coming up and everything like that and reflecting the industry. And so lots of publishers had presentations there. And the three of them are really worth noting, in my opinion. And it's, again, worth noting that I'm basing this on notes from different sites, and some of them could just be entirely, some of these reports could be entirely bullshit.
This is all speculation and nothing official.
Yeah, a lot of it. So DC, this is the one that's really in contention over whether what I'm about to say is total bullshit. Allegedly, DC, their strategy going forward is they're trying to pull back a little bit, and there were rumors about a new 22 and stuff like that, and allegedly DC is going to try and cut down their line, or at least their main superhero line, if not overall, by 10 to 15%. And so look for possibly cancellations on some of the lowest selling titles. At this juncture, I'm not certain what those are. And also there have been rumors about them abandoning the Hanna-Barbera line, which
that was heavily rumored.
They have nothing. The only thing that is still running through that line is the Scooby-Doo Apocalypse series, which ends in, I think, May.
Well, it's not totally dead yet, Vince, because Tom King on Twitter teased this week that in the Nightmares arc for Batman, we are getting a pseudo sequel to Batman FUD as Lee Weeks is coming back to draw.
Awesome.
So we are getting a pseudo sequel. So I don't think everything's dead quite yet, but.
And allegedly, DC, through the mouth of Dan DiDio, I believe, got kind of passive aggressive, not naming any names, but they are pulling back a little bit and not spamming the market as much. And they reference how certain other publishers are flooding the market with lots of product, higher price product, variant covers, stuff like that.
Sounds like they're. It sounds like they're definitely taking a shot at Marvel there with like stuff like War of Realms.
Yeah.
And every #1 issue or costing like $7.99 a book at Marvel.
Yeah. And again, particularly the DC stuff, that's mostly, some of this is not 100% confirmed that this is what was conveyed. Now, on the Marvel side, Marvel basically apparently presented the exact opposite. And Marvel was arguing, hey, we're coming out with a lot of stuff, a lot of like new titles and variant covers and crossovers and everything like that. And from the perspective of Marvel, they're arguing, hey, this stuff kind of sells, and so all you retailers, you're going to make money and stuff like that. But there's a lot of split in opinion and what's good long term, etc.
But I feel like that's short term game though.
Yeah.
Like it's not it. If that is their strategy, at least in my opinion, I feel like that's definitely short term strategy to try to get a boom, because then everyone's going to be sick about it, and then we're going to be at the same point where we were a few years ago with Marvel, where they had over they were publishing over 60 books a month, or not a month, but like something like that.
Yeah, something crazy. And then the third major publisher of note, and this is more confirmed because somehow people like fully transcripted it, is Boom Studios, who again is publishing Buffy, and they've kind of got a little boost in the past few years. They're maybe one of the fastest growing publishers, and they came out and basically said, yeah, we don't like this flooding the market thing, and we think that the retailers have less power, or at least they've given up power. And so Boom, I forget what the initiative. It's like they want people to use hashtag retailer revolution. And number one, they announced a new title. I forget what it's called, but it's written by Kieran Gillen and drawn by Dan Mora. Dan Mora did the Klaus series with Grant Morrison.
Very, very good artist.
And he also, the thing is that he's also supposed to be the current artist on Buffy. And so I'm assuming he's leaving Buffy. They haven't I don't think they've commented on that yet. But this new series by them, and the weird tagline they're using is that it's supposed to be for Indiana Jones what Mark Miller's Kingsman is for James Bond, which
Okay.
I don't know that compare. I mean, I like the idea of updated Indiana Jones or whatever.
I'm already liking the idea of Kieran Gillen writing an adventure book with Dan Mora on art.
Yeah, but for me, especially the Kingsman comparison, especially to the comic book.
Well, yeah, it's to the comic book version of Kingsman. Oh no.
Yeah. But the major thing is that Boom has been going hard on retailer returnability, because in the direct market by default, comic books are not returnable to Diamond at all.
That's true.
What you order and you don't sell it through, you're stuck with it. But certain publishers have been experimenting with returnability on issue number ones and other stuff like that. And Boom, they're doubling down on that. But I think it's like up through issue 4 or 5 or 6. I think it's up through issue 6 on this series specifically. And also they've talked about making certain trades and graphic novels returnable, and no variant. I believe on this series there are no variant covers whatsoever, and they emphasize that. And there were a few other notes, and they're basically they're leaning into some of the things that retailers are complaining about, even though short term these things make the retailers money, but it's a begrudging kind of, oh shit, this is how the market has gotten, it's all fucked up. And Boom's promise, their mission statement is, I believe if retailers across the country can get this Kieran Gillen Boom number 1, I think in the top 25 for that month, which doesn't sound that impressive, but for Boom, that is actually
for Boom, that's huge.
That's pretty good. I believe if it debuts in the top 25, then Boom is gonna double down and they will follow this formula for most of their series going forward, or for one more series, or we'll see how it goes. But it was pretty interesting because, I mean, Boom is basically following, and also Boom said they're cutting back their line a little bit.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting to see these different strategies from these publishers.
I mean, for smaller publisher, I don't think it's a bad idea. I mean, just pull back, make books that are good, make high quality books that are good, and then you'll get people coming to you.
Yeah.
I think going back to DC strategy, I think pulling back is not a horrible move. I think DC really needs to figure out where they're at universe continuity wise before they can really start to move anywhere else, because Doomsday Clock, I think it would be a true statement to say that the Doomsday Clock's release has been nothing short of kind of a disaster. As it's kind of scrapped plans and forced kind of stagnation. And then this happening at the same time that Heroes in Crisis is happening isn't great. So, I mean, DC kind of still in that limbo until Doomsday Clock is done. But
it is risky though, because if you're cutting your line and someone else is exploding their line, there is a chance that perhaps you're just going to get swallowed up.
Perhaps, but then again, do we really need 25 or 20 to 25 War of the Realms books?
Yeah, exactly. But just noting some of the things that Boom publishes, they've kind of been on the up recently. They have the Adventure Time license, which does pretty well for them.
They have Rick and Morty as well.
Yeah, I believe they have Rick and Morty. Actually, I'm not sure. That might be IDW, but they have Adventure Time. They have Buffy. They have Firefly. They have Lumberjanes, which is very successful on the indie side. They have Giant Days, similar concept. They have Klaus. And Greg Pak's Mech Cadet U. So we'll see how that all shakes up a year from now or whatever.
And we did mention Mark Millar earlier. So Vince, as we jump into comic reviews, tell us about the next great Netflix show, soon to be Sharky the Bounty Hunter.
Yeah, so Sharky the Bounty Hunter. I don't understand this because isn't this an Image book?
Yeah, but is anything he publishes under Millar World at this point?
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. I didn't understand because my understanding was that Netflix was publishing some of his books. I didn't know if it was going through Image, so I don't know if this is actually part of his weird Netflix deal that I don't understand. But this is Sharky the Bounty Hunter #1, written by Mark Millar, drawn by Simone Bianchi. I'm sure we're pronouncing that wrong.
With apologies if we.
And basically, it's kind of like, I think it's clearly inspired by Lobo.
Yeah.
It's an interstellar bounty hunter. He's kind of supposed to be a little edgy. So his name is Sharky. He has blue skin and some facial hair and male pattern baldness. He wears a hat sometimes. So he kills a guy, and the kind of interesting part is that this guy that he is tracking down and tries. Well, actually, he does. I don't think he kills him. He's getting this guy, and this guy has an ability to split up into a bunch of tiny versions of himself. And he tries to escape by diving into a toilet. And my first confusion is, were you clear on whether he killed this guy or whether he captured him and brought him in?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know.
There's some when he either turns him in the body or claims it, whatever. There's like a dumb comment about his payment. Like 90% of his payment is getting taken out by some corporation or whatever. And I couldn't tell if it was trying to be commentary or if it's supposed to be funny. It didn't work as either for me.
Well, the book was supposed to be funny. It's not.
Then he sleeps with a chick who is getting turned into a car. And again, is this supposed to be edgy commentary? Is he like making jokes about transgender people or something? Or is it way less than that? Either way, it's not funny. It's not really saying anything to me. And a kid walks in on him. Oh, I don't know if I was clear on what I was actually talking about. So he sleeps with this chick, but she's like a cyborg, and
Right.
she has never seen herself as a woman, and or she has always wanted to be a vehicle. So she's going to, in the morning, complete her medical transformation into like a security truck.
Right.
And a kid walks in on him having sex or about to, and he's
The nephew of the guy he brought in from earlier, and it's like, you have to take care of me.
Yeah. And
because I don't have anywhere to go.
He's gonna ditch the kid in his stupid ice cream truck ship to go track down a huge bounty, but because he has some unclear backstory as like a special forces guy, he has a little bit of a conscience, so he goes back, takes the kid with him, and then at the very end was like, I thought this part was slightly interesting, where we're introduced to another bounty hunter who is super deep undercover and has spent 18 months like through holograms or whatever disguised as a woman and dating some criminal. And so it's at what's supposed to be their wedding, and she slash the bounty hunter, who's actually male underneath, kind of pulls a red wedding kind of thing and just murders all of these criminals at this wedding in this locked area. And that's basically it. So they're on the two bounty hunters are on a crash course for this giant bounty. My first comment is, I don't really like Simone Bianchi at all.
No, it weird to see him doing interiors.
I mean, I don't dislike it, but it's just completely not a style I like.
No, it's not. Normally he just does covers, so I I don't know who this but like I don't know who this book's for. It's not funny. It especially like I feel like even if you like Millar's normal humor, this is not his best outing as far as writing wise too. This is a story we've seen before.
Yeah, I didn't find any of it funny. I didn't find any of it smart, and I couldn't even tell if it was trying to be either. Um, as I said, based on the bounty hunter concept, and it's cosmic, and it's kind of supposed to be funny. It has to be inspired by Lobo.
It has to be.
Lobo created, well, I'd say the primary creator of Lobo is Keith Giffen, but a lot of the Lobo stuff, once he spun out of certain things, was co-written with Alan Grant, who is one of the OG 2000 AD guys known for humor and sarcasm and stuff like that. And
Right.
that's where Mark Millar comes from. He was also a UK guy. He actually worked on 2000 AD a lot as well. But it's like this. But Lobo was a different kind of humor. And this is
Right.
nothing like that. And the parts that are supposed to be commentary or humor, they don't. I don't like this issue at all, really.
I don't like it at all. I think we both agree it's the worst book that we read this week.
Yeah.
Um,
It's a definite no. I will never read this again from me.
no, we are not continuing this.
For some of like, I think Millar is super hit and miss. I'm actually some of it I haven't fully read, but some of his recent stuff I am interested in. Like he did Huck a little bit ago, which I like the concept of. And like the whole Jupiter's Legacy, Jupiter's Circle stuff I like, but I think his very recent stuff, he's had a few misses.
Yeah, I was trying to remember the last time I read something by Mark Millar that I enjoyed. Um,
Yeah.
but it wasn't this. But
Um,
so let's head over to the realm of the Marvel universe.
all right, you talk Avengers.
Avengers: No Road Home #2. We like the first issue. It's Ewing, Zub, and Wade still on this. Paco Medina
Two in
is
a row.
penciling this. What?
Yeah, I was just saying he did the art 2 issues in a row, so I'm not sure how the art breakdown is on this series.
Yeah, I don't know. You'll have to help me out with the beginning of this book because I don't know who Voyager's talking to. Some cosmic guy. But
Uh, yeah, so she refers to him as Challenger. And
right,
actually, let me look that up right now because there's a character called Challenger
I'm
who,
guessing this is someone who debuted in No Surrender.
well, that's the thing is it's either someone who debuted in No Surrender or it's a character totally not from No Surrender. Um, because okay, yeah, this is a new. He
Okay,
debuted in was No Surrender. They used legacy numbering, right? Yeah, they did. So he's
okay.
from No Surrender, and I didn't read that, so I'm not actually certain what his deal is. I'm assuming he was
I
just a
never
big guy.
finished it. I didn't get to the point where he showed up. But basically, the opening of this book shows us what happened in Olympus before the Avengers got there. So all the gods are getting killed by it's Nyx, right?
Yeah.
So we're watching that happen, and that's all good setup. And then we cut back to the Avengers, and this issue really focuses on Hawkeye, with his inner monologue of like, because we did talk about it last time. He's the only guy without powers here, and wasn't really supposed to show up, but here he is, and he's doing Hawkeye stuff, which I liked. I liked the stuff where he was talking about how he has to shoot where he thinks he's where Nyx is going to be, instead of where she is. But it's very prominent that Nyx is pretty much overpowering all of the Avengers, taking everyone out, and then the Avengers are pretty much transported right at the end of this, and then Hawkeye. We don't know where everyone is, but Hawkeye wakes up in a hospital room, and his thumbs are gone, so that's not good. And then
But
he's alone with the Hulk.
I think just one of his thumb might be gone. Like that's definitely I think it's on just on one hand, and it's
It's
definitely
just on the one. It's on his right hand though.
yeah. And then the Hulk pulls across the curtain and he says, "It's time to square up, dude."
Because he said, "Don't catch me alone with you." I was weird. I mean, obviously with that setup, we knew they were going to be alone at some point, but I didn't expect it to happen so fast.
Yeah.
I think this is a nightmare though, but I'm still enjoying this. I like the West Coast kind of feel of this.
Yeah. Well, just like the B tier kind of thing, which at this point, honestly, is like how I feel. Like that's what the kind of Avengers stories I want.
Yeah,
Because otherwise, like I don't know, like the whole like super generic movie based teams, I don't really care.
I feel like the only like I like this team. I don't think there's a character on this team I don't like.
Yeah. Yeah, the Hawkeye narration was pretty perfect. He's talking about his luck and everything like that. I like how Nyx referred to Hercules as Heracles because
Yeah,
she's Greek as well. She says the Day of the Gods is done, and again, she's Greek, so from her perspective, she's talking about the Greek gods and everything like that. But it's worth noting real quick that the Marvel Universe has practically every other pantheon of gods.
right.
So I don't know. I doubt it, but possibly she could go vanquish the other pantheons, or they're probably just ignoring that.
Right.
Um, yeah, and the other thing we didn't mention is that the whole night everywhere thing is the result. So Nyx, when she's attacking Olympus, talks about it, and it's basically implied. Well, it's not implied. We learn that she didn't do that. She's just able to go on this rampage because it happened, but it's the
Yeah.
fault of Voyager. And I assume that's something that happened in the last series as well.
Right. But I I don't know if it's the fact that like I mean Mark Waid knows how to do weekly books, so I think this is it's a big strength having him on here. But this has just been a fun book so far, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah, it's good.
it's a straight up superhero team up with looking like impossible odds, and it's good. It looks like it's going to continue to be fun. And then Conan's going to possibly, I mean, Conan is going to show up at some point, and hopefully he doesn't wreck it.
Yeah. So now, Uncanny X-Men number 12 is written by Matt Rosenberg, drawn by Salvador Larroca.
Now, keep in mind that Cyclops still has 6 fingers on this cover.
Shit. So we open with Wolverine. So the thing is, I did not read number 11, which I should have to catch up.
Well,
So I'm going.
I'll tell you this: you needed to read, and you could bypass 1 through 10 pretty fine, because that's them all battling a X-Man. All what you really needed to read was the annual, which explains how Scott came back, and then number 11.
Yeah.
Now, before you get into this, it's very weird reading 11 because 11 was like 72 pages long, and then to go to this, which is like 22, it felt like kind of a weird flow of reading.
Yeah. So we open with Wolverine helping to patch up Cyclops from whatever they were getting
Oh
down
yeah,
to.
they fought basically every anti-mutant task force that the X-Men have ever faced. So like the Reavers were there, I can't remember if the Acolytes were there. Basically everyone that's been bad, they fought.
Okay. Cyclops has a line where he says, "I never should have led the X-Men," which annoyed me, but it's also like slightly in character for him.
Yeah.
Um, and then they go on this mission, and like it's not really. I don't know. Again, I don't know if this is something I missed. But, like they don't initially set up what the hell they're doing, but they bust into a.
Well, they're going to get. Well, Wolverine says because Cyclops is like, we're all that's left of the X-Men. Everyone's gone because they all got transported off to God knows where with Age of X-Men. But we do know Madrox Prime is still alive because he was number 11. Same with Layla. And then we knew Chamber was still alive along with Callisto. But they all declined to join Cyclops' new team. So it's just Wolverine and Cyclops, but Wolverine, I guess, knows where other people were being held. So his plan is they're going to go break them out.
So they bust into this facility. There's some decent action and some good banter. Cyclops putting on a show. He's pretty effective. And they come across Strong Guy, Danny Moonstar, and Karma. But the twist is that they come across Sentinels, and the Sentinels are bleeding and talking and not being very aggressive. And so actually, these Sentinels have mutants inside of them.
Yeah.
And they're infected with the transmode virus, which is the techno-organic virus from like what's it, Phalanx Covenant and shit like that. Loose related to
Phalanx.
So they're all infected. They also pick up Magic and Wolfsbane, who are a little bit immune to the infection because of their shape.
I don't know when Wolfsbane grew her hair out again, because she's been rocking kind of the shortcut for a while.
Yeah. And they also run into some dupes of Madrox.
Yeah, they're not Madrox Prime.
And Havoc is hooked up to some kind of machine. And so Scott saves his brother, and Havoc says it should have been me that died. And then they're running, and it turns out the fucking dupes have bombs inside of them.
Yeah.
And so Guido, Strong Guy, takes a hit, and there's one panel where it's like people on the ground, and I couldn't tell if there's like a figure on the foreground, and I couldn't tell. I assumed that was Guido.
Yeah.
And there's like red coloring, but I don't know if that's supposed to be a shirt. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if like he's just totally like blown to bits in that panel.
Yeah, he's just blown to bits.
But it's so low detail. But it's so low detail. There's not really gore like to worry about.
Right.
And so he dies. Strong Guy dies in this issue.
Yeah, which this is like the third time he's died. So.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't like characters dying, but whatever. And Magic teleports them all out, and this ends with basically this new group of anti-mutant experiment Sentinel-related people saying that the X-Men are back.
And hey, we have a team. Basically 2 issues in. This looks to be our team, though we do know that Jamie Madrox does join from the covers. So maybe, I'm guessing with the death of some dupes, maybe Jamie Prime does come back to join the team. Yes. I guess we'll find out next issue.
So we have Cyclops, Wolverine, Jamie Madrox, Danny Moonstar, Karma, Magic, Wolfsbane, and Havoc.
I love this team because it's like all my favorite characters.
Well, it's interesting because parts of it, I mean, Matt Rosenberg wrote an Astonishing X-Men arc, which included Havoc. I think that was the only character from here.
I thought Charles Soule was writing that book.
Charles Soule wrote the first like 12 issues or whatever.
Okay.
That focused on Professor X. Remember we read the first issue of Matt Rosenberg's series?
Oh, okay. I didn't know if that was Soule or not.
I think we did that for, I don't know, we were reviewing issues.
We did that for Fresh Start.
Yeah, Fresh Start. And that was Rosenberg and Greg Land. And Rosenberg, I believe, wrote the most recent New Mutants miniseries, which is more like a New Mutants / X Factor jumble thing. And I think that touched on Wolfsbane, Strong Guy, and Danny Moonstar, maybe Karma.
I mean, Rosenberg also wrote the Madrox miniseries.
So he's kind of snuck his way into the spot of lead X-Men writer by setting up a bunch of things, smaller things, and feeding them in. And so that's Uncanny X-Men 12. Overall, I like it.
I'm digging this. I'm digging this book.
Yeah, it's pretty strong considering what we've gone through the past several years.
I think it's been a little dark. I'd like it not to be as bleak, but I think next issue. I mean, we see Cyclops in the '90s costume. So the minute I think everyone, by the time everyone suits up, I think we'll finally get the feel of a real X-Men book.
Yeah. So
enjoying this.
talk about Batman.
Okay. So part 3 of the Price of Vengeance with this crossover with Flash. So it's still Williamson writing, but by the way, forget who did this this variant cover. Looks great.
Yeah, I think
Um,
it's Jeffrey Allen Love, who I don't recognize the name, but it's a very good cover.
and this is Gullum March on pencils, I believe.
Yep.
So picking up where we left off, so Batman and Flash kind of at the end of Flash 60, that Flash 64, yeah, Flash 64. They're more at odds with each other, but this issue opens with Gotham Girl going through her origin, or what she perceived, what she wanted her origin to be. And from the way I read King when he did I Am Gotham, this is just a huge retcon. It's all right it's at that point where, okay, nothing adds up here. But for a character this new, I guess you can really do with anything you want on this, right? But Batman and Flash, they stop the multiple clones going around, and then they split off because Barry just cannot handle Bruce being. He just keeps blaming Bruce for all the problems when really it's not Batman's fault.
Well, I think it was comically funny that they literally butt heads, and then Barry kicks dust in Bruce's face.
Yeah, and then Iris has a picture of her, Barry, and Wally, and she's like, "I'm going to break the story of his death because it's not public yet, I guess."
I don't this part. I don't understand how Wally's current continuity works, because like everyone forgot about him. Why are there photographs? I don't understand it.
I don't know. I haven't been reading Flash. But hey, we do have Barry saying that he was the better Flash, so points on this, right?
Yes.
Um, I'm so done with this crossover. I'm so happy it ends next week. Um, so Gotham Girl's whole motivation is that she wants to remake her own origin in the way she wants it to be, which I guess is doing every villainous thing possible, but thinking that she's in the right. Also, her brother explodes again. So Gotham came back, and it was pretty much a fake out as he just straight up exploded. Also, this is happening in Central City as Batman is in the Bat plane, basically blowing up the engines to get there on time. So this issue then ends with Gotham Girl using her powers, and it looks like she's going nuclear, like her brother is at the end of this. So we'll find out how this concludes at the end of next week in Flash 65.
Yep.
And I just don't think Williamson has a great voice for Batman. I think his voice for Flash is okay. It's pretty good, but I don't like the blame after blame on Batman here, as really we don't know the full story. And if Sanctuary is supposed to be used to rehabilitate people, why is it a bad thing if he were to send Gotham Girl there? I don't get why the blame is all on Batman here.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just kind of. I don't think I'm as critical on it as you are, but it's just like I don't really care.
So that's the other thing. Like, I'm critical of it because I'm not enjoying it, but also I think for I think we talked about it last week. This crossover has everything going against it, as it's number one, a crossover to an already ongoing crossover event book in the middle of an arc that was set up, and it's all tied together, and it's not being written by the same writer. And we by the way, we got a button reference in this, and I like Batman and Flash working together. I just don't like the story because it's pretty much retconned everything we've known about Gotham Girl, and I just don't think the motivations are there. And it's just been very odd to read, just because everything's been written in a way for everything to be twisted in order for it to happen the way it is.
Yeah. Now, last book this week, wrapping things up with NAOMI #2. So this main character, NAOMI, created by the creative team here, Brian Bendis, David Walker. Is it Aaron Campbell?
Checking it.
Jamal Campbell?
I think it's Jamal Campbell.
Campbell, and she's this character. She lives in Oregon, I believe. As you
It's not. It's basically Portland.
Yeah.
I forget what the name of the town is. They say it in the first issue, but basically Portland.
So last issue, to my knowledge, Superman kind of crashed through town fighting Mongol, and there's kind of some mystery about who Naomi's parents are.
Right. There's it was one of those fights where just like well, they're going so fast where they're flying through everywhere, and they stopped for like a brief second, and then he was fighting Mongol, and then Superman came back to help clean up. And this has been prompting questions because stuff doesn't like happen in this small town, and which has been prompting Naomi to figure out the last time someone showed up in this town, like the superhero showed up, was the day she was adopted. So she's trying to figure out what's going on.
Yeah, but she didn't learn the whole day she adopted part last issue, right? That's debuted in this.
No, I'm going to be critical of this. Basically the first two issues of this book are basically the last 2 pages. I'm sorry, the first 2 pages of this book are the last 2 pages of issue 1,
Okay.
almost verbatim, which I thought was weird.
Yeah, so she's talking to this big giant ass mechanic and asking him questions. He tells her that point about the last time something major happening was her adoption date, but he doesn't reference it as that. He just tells her the date, and then he kicks her out of his shop.
And then he rides away on his motorcycle, like escaping.
Yeah, and then she goes home to her parents. I thought the page, so there's a page where you don't really see her parents, but they're not arguing, but they're having a conversation over her, and
Yeah.
you can sit there.
I thought this was framed pretty well.
Yeah, you can sit there and read their dialogue, but it has nothing to do with anything, and so it's actually more a like stylistic, technical thing where it's like here's filler dialogue that you're not supposed to care about, and so you actually could totally skip it, but we're going to put it on the page to show you that people are talking.
Well, it's not
And
only that; it's to evoke exactly like I think everyone has had that where you're sitting at a table with your family and they'll be talking about something that you just don't care about. So
yeah.
it's exactly that, and the way it's framed on the page is actually fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Jamal Campbell's art is, I think, the highest strength of this book, by the way.
Yeah. And then she addresses her parents about this meeting with the mechanic and this mystery that she has going on. And that's when like I kind of kept getting distracted because it's just like copyrighted Bendis dialogue where it's trying to be very realistic, or whatever the right word is, where people are interjecting with each other. They're not using full sentences. They'll be cut off in the middle of words and everything like that. And that is how people speak. But to me, even though like we both kind of grew up with Bendis, essentially on different titles and stuff with all of his Marvel work and everything. But to
Right.
me, especially as he like got more and more into this method of dialogue, it's weird to me. It's still like you have to force yourself into the rhythm in your head, and it distracts me.
Right.
And so certain
The weirdest part of this book are the 2 giant pages. We get a giant page of Superman, like this beautiful 2-page splash of Superman that really doesn't have anything else to do with the book, and then later we get this page of this kind of intergalactic stuff that's going on that I'm guessing this is going to play in later to who Naomi really is.
yeah, so that's apparently some kind of dream that she has after
Right.
she's been thrown into these situations. And then she hops on her skateboard, breaks into the auto shop, and finds a picture of the mechanic with an African American woman who I guess is sort of supposed to look like her. The mechanic,
Same hairstyle, basically, really.
the mechanic catches her, and she's like, "Who the hell are you? And who the hell am I?" And he's like, "I'm not ready to talk about it, but too bad because she found your photo." And
Yeah.
that's where it ends.
And the next issue teases the secret history of the DC universe, which I'm sure is going to drive us insane.
Well, I just have no idea what to make of this book because, like, if these two characters are her parents, these are not characters that matter. So I don't
Right.
like. I don't know. We'll
This book
see.
isn't bad. It's just the thing. I think we're 2 issues in. I think we need to. If this is, well, we talked about this off air. How many issues this is going to be? I don't think this is going to be an ongoing, or at least this chapter of Naomi's life isn't going to be an ongoing. I don't see this. We both said we don't see this current iteration going more than 12 issues, and then they'll probably rebrand it with whoever she becomes afterwards.
Yeah, I'm not really sure. I mean, this was pretty decompressed. I basically not much happens in this issue at all.
Yeah, and not much happens in issue 1 either. That's the thing. So if this is going to be 12 issues, this is going to be a slog.
But at least there was some superhero action in the first one, even if it was from the
Yeah.
perspective of a spectator. Um, and at first in this issue, especially because he's drawn so damn huge, I wasn't sure if this mechanic guy was supposed to be like an alien. He like slightly reminds me of like a Kilowog mixed with whatever the guy from Omega Man
Reminds
is.
me of Tattooed Man.
Well, he definitely has tattoos. But like I think he's just a giant human. I don't
I
know.
think he's just like a giant guy. Yeah.
But like it's not. I didn't think it was bad at all.
No, that's the book is not bad. It's just moving at a snail's pace, and we're like, all right, let's
Yeah.
go. At least Paul Campbell's art is here for us to look at because it is genuinely fantastic. I would love to see more superhero work.
Yeah.
Because that's a great Superman.
So overall, I'd say kind of a not the best week as far
Not
as
the best
we.
week, honestly, no. If you're gonna give an edge to a company this week, who is it? I'm gonna say Marvel,
Yeah.
and then if I choose a favorite book of the week, I think I'm gonna go Uncanny X-Men just beats out Avengers, just because I've been really. I think I'm. I think I'm enjoying X-Men a lot just because I'm having fun reading an ongoing X-Men book for the first time.
Yeah. I give the slight edge to Avengers.
Yeah, I feel like I honestly it could go either way, but I feel it's a slight edge to either one.
Yep.
But uh, Vince, are we introducing the back issue turntable or something?
Yeah,
For next?
sure. So our concept, and we'll see if we do it every single episode or what, is future episodes, in addition to the weekly new releases that we pick to talk about, we will review one comic book. It'll be like the back issue roulette. And we're going to figure out the specifics and we'll randomize it in some way and we'll just pick something. And maybe it'll be an issue from 1972 of Batman, or a X-Men issue from 1998,
Yeah.
or Elementals #5. Who
Maybe
knows?
one week it'll be like just a favorite one-off back issues that we enjoyed that we just want to review.
But somehow we'll implement some kind of back issue kind of element, and possibly with some randomization and things like that. So check out that. We haven't fully set it up, so we'll probably this next week we'll go in somewhat blind and explain a little bit more details. And then past that, we'll probably be able to set it up where we'll tell you week ahead what we'll be doing.
Right. So, like you said, not a great week overall. Do you know what's coming out next week, or do we have not even checked yet? Probably
We have not checked.
no. So we'll find out soon.
Yep. So thanks for watching and tune in next time. Goodbye.